Morning all, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe. It's Monday, March the 22nd, 2021. We've got quite a lot to get through today news-wise. We're going to look at the usual COVID stats for the US and for Florida. We're going to have a look at the vaccine rollout and how that's going. If Americans are actually taking it up and in what numbers. The limit for the COVID vaccine in Florida was lowered to 50 years old from today, and there's a bit of a political spat going on in Orange County. President Biden says he's going to open borders by mid-May, or is he? Governor DeSantis says that COVID passports will not be required in Florida. Dr. Anthony Fauci is afraid of a fourth wave. The city of Miami Beach has declared a state of emergency because of spring break revelers. There seems to be a bit of a difference of opinion in the UK as to when international travel will recommence. Australia's flag carrier Qantas has chimed in about when COVID passports will be required. We're going to look at which countries are implementing COVID passports and is Virgin's flight full now. In Disney news, Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, was interviewed by Bloomberg last week, and we've got a clip of that to show you. Mickey, Minnie, Pluto and Goofy are now doing meet and greets in Epcot. We're going to have a quick look at the Walt Disney World Park Reservation calendar, when's the best time to go. And Universal Orlando hit capacity 3 times last week during spring break. They are the headlines. If you're new to the channel, please do hit that like button. We don't charge anything for this channel. There's no Patreon, there's no super chats, nothing like that. This is completely free. So if you do like the video, do give it a like. Okay, let's get cracking. Daily new cases in the US on Saturday, 55,908. The 7-day average across America was 56,123. Last week it was 55,513, so that's up 1%. Active cases in the US, 7.25 million. Last week was 7.4 million, so that's a 2% drop. The 7-day average for deaths in the US, 1,081. Last week it was 1,307, so that's a drop of 18%. In Florida, new cases on Saturday, 5,105. The 7-day average for Florida for new cases, 4,465, down from 4,602 last week, a 3% drop. Active cases in Florida, 621,000, last week 684,000, that's almost a 10% drop. The 7-day average for deaths in Florida, 68, that was 90 last week, so a 24% drop. So as last week, the number of deaths is the big news, thank goodness, going down both in the US and in Florida, so really good news. Hopefully that will have a big bearing on when international borders are reopened. The total vaccines distributed as of Saturday, 156.7 million. Last week it was 135.8 million. That's 20.9 million in 6 days, 3.5 million per day. The number of vaccines administered was 121.4 million. Last week it was 107.1, that's 14.3 million, an average of 2.4 million over 6 days. The total percentage of population with at least one dose of vaccine is now 23.9% and 13% are fully vaccinated. Last week those numbers were 21% and 11.3% respectively. The total number of people vaccinated by type is now Pfizer 21.1 million, Moderna 19.8 million, and Johnson & Johnson 2.2 million. The Johnson & Johnson vaccines in the last 6 days are 1 million people. So that's 1 million people who now don't need a second shot. Florida ranks 25th for people with at least one dose, down from 23rd last week. Florida kept its 23rd place for people who have been fully vaccinated. That's by percentage, by head of population. A new graph shows world rankings for percentage of people who've had the vaccine. This is per single dose, so Israel must have had above 50% of its population fully vaccinated. You can see that the UAE is second, UK is third, US is fourth. There's quite a large gap then to Europe. I've included Ireland since I know that there are people from there who watch this channel. It's been reported recently that there are still 45% of Americans who say they won't have the vaccine. It's hoped that these people will change their minds soon when they see other people getting the vaccine. President Biden said last week the vaccine would be available to all adults by the end of May. This week, Governor Ron DeSantis said that he was lowering the age limit from Monday to 50. I looked to see if there were any appointments in my county for the next 7 days. There weren't. I'll keep looking and I'll let you know when I've been successful. DeSantis also had a blast at Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, who lowered the age limit in Orange County to 40. Governor DeSantis is Republican, while Demings is a Democrat, so there may be some political manoeuvring going on there. According to sources, the Biden administration is looking at mid-May to begin relaxing COVID travel restrictions. This includes opening borders to the UK and Europe. There's been no official notification from anybody in the Biden administration, so take this with a bit of a pinch of salt until something more concrete is said. The story about Governor DeSantis stating that COVID passports would not be required is something of a non-story at the moment. I've heard nothing about particular businesses requiring people to have any kind of proof that they've been vaccinated, so I don't know where that's coming from. In the seesawing news on COVID, Dr. Anthony Fauci has said he believes there could be a fourth surge in cases and pointed to Europe and some US states where cases had increased this week. This slide here is what Dr. Fauci was referring to about the US. 15 states this week have seen an increase in cases, although Florida is not one of them. The city of Miami Beach on Saturday declared a state of emergency due to revelers coming down for spring break. A nighttime curfew has been implemented and will stay in place until Tuesday. In the US, there seems to be some difference of opinion as to when international travel may recommence. Defence Secretary Ben Wallace has refused to rule out an extension to the ban on international travel, which is due to end on the 16th of May. Meanwhile, a report in the Financial Times states that the UK government has drawn up a traffic light system for overseas travel. I think this is a great idea, actually. I think this is exactly what everybody needs in the world, a traffic light system, green for go, amber for just wait a minute, and red being not this time, chum. In Australia, Qantas boss Alan Joyce has said that governments will insist on travellers having the vaccine. He said that many governments were talking about this as a condition of entry. He then appeared to contradict himself by saying even if they weren't, the airline industry should implement it. So what's happening in the world of COVID passports? Health Secretary Matt Hancock is in favour of the system, and several countries have either implemented it or are in the process of doing so. Last week I looked at the re-inaugural flight from Virgin VS 135, direct flight from Orlando on May the 17th. The prices of remaining premium seats have dropped by almost £430 to £932. Virgin has sold 2 more upper class seats on that flight, but it's now got 9 premium seats left when it was 5 last week. There's been no change to the number of economy seats left. So that flight now has 2 seats more left than it did last week. So that initial euphoria about flying to Orlando seems to have dampened a little bit. BA's economy and business class seats for that same flight that day are still cheaper than Virgin's, but the premium economy seats now in BA are more expensive. In Disney news, Disney CEO Bob Chapek was interviewed by Bloomberg last week and asked about what technologies that had been implemented during the pandemic would remain. He was specifically asked about the reservation system. Here's a clip from that interview now. It's about 1.5 minutes long.
So what are some of the new technologies that you've used over the last year that you think might stick around post-pandemic? Will temperature screenings continue, for example? Will you use the reservation system a lot more?
Well, in addition to all the health guidelines that we've been following across the world, you know, masks, temperature checks, increased hygiene, 6-foot social distancing, we're also going to be introducing a new reservation system that's going to enable our guests to have a great time no matter when they choose to come to Disney. Of course, nobody ever wants to go through a pandemic, but our teams here have been hard at work making sure that when we reemerge, that we're going to do so in a way that's actually going to improve the guest experience, even versus a pre-pandemic situation. And our guest satisfaction scores since we've reopened across the world have shown that indeed our guests are even more satisfied than they were prior to the pandemic. We've learned some things. We've learned to operate under constraints all the time by delivering this great same Disney magic that you expect. But, you know, we've been in a fortunate situation where we've had a lot of demand in the past. In many cases, that has exceeded what we can actually supply in terms of how many people we can put in the park. And there's been no situation that's been, more like that than we've had upon reopening, and really having to operate under some really tight constraints. But we've gotten even better and better at it. And I think it's going to create a reemergence scenario where magic is going to be even greater for our guests when they do come back to our parks.
I got from that then that the reservation system, the park reservation system, would remain basically forever. I think actually in hindsight now that's a really good thing. The chances of being locked out, the chances of getting a grey, which is no parks available for that day, or yellow, which is at least one park unavailable for a particular day, is almost zero outside of the very busy times of Christmas, maybe Easter, maybe Thanksgiving, where maybe Magic Kingdom would be locked out, and that's it. If you get in early, then you know you're going to be there. It's not like you trip up to the park and it's full, and then you're disappointed and you have to go somewhere else or go home. So I think actually this is going to be a good idea. At Universal Studios last week, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios both reached capacity 3 days out of 7 last week due to spring break. Volcano Bay also reached capacity a couple of days, and I believe that actually reached capacity before it was open to the general public at 9:30 on one of those days. What's the best way of getting into the park if you don't have a deluxe hotel reservation or you're not an annual pass holder at Universal Orlando? Get there extremely early. Car park, I believe, opens at 6:30, so if you get there at 6:30 or even before and just wait in that line, you are almost guaranteed to get in. Don't forget that if you are a hotel guest, you are not going to get in if the parks are full. You do get priority treatment though, so when the parks do reopen, you get in first, but you will not be let in if the parks are full. Looking at the parks availability calendar for Walt Disney World, if you want to go to Epcot on March the 27th as a ticket holder or as a resort guest, then you are in luck. If not, there's nothing else available in March. It is a better story for annual pass holders. In April, if you're a ticket holder or resort guest, the 1st to the 8th are unavailable, except for Epcot on April the 4th. It's a bit better for annual pass holders, with the weekends seeing some non-availability. In May, the 4th is unavailable at Hollywood Studios for theme park tickets and resort guests. Even though nothing special has been announced, May is completely clear for annual pass holders. We're now seeing some yellow in June as the school holidays kick in for the US. Hollywood Studios is not available to theme park tickets or resort guests from the 7th to the 10th. No problem in June for annual pass holders though at the moment. October the 1st marks Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, and there's no availability at all that day for any kind of guests. Annual pass holders also can't go to Epcot or Magic Kingdom on October the 2nd. Reservations are now available right up until June the 14th, 2023. It's likely that capacity will be back to normal by then, but it's also likely that reservation systems will remain. Looking at the weather then, and it's comfortable from Tuesday right the way through to Sunday, April the 4th, Easter weekend. Getting a bit warm later this week into the 90s, and then some rain potentially for the Easter weekend. Okay, that is the news. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. As I said, we don't charge for anything on this channel. It's completely free. The only way that we get the videos out to more people is more likes and a few more comments. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back on maybe Thursday with this Rosen in at Point Orlando review, and I'll get some more news to you next weekend. Okay, till then, stay safe. See you then. Bye-bye.